unique to only one session.
We also thought that it would give people, we realised that, for example, 7 p.m. Eastern time, that's like midnight, I think, in the UK. So we also realised that if we do 2 different times, you'll have an option of attending a time slot that may be better for you. So, I mean, that was the other reason that we decided to do that. So hopefully you're excited about that. And then, yeah, we will put one of both sessions will have the same content, but you'll have, one of the training sessions and all the question and answers at least, question and answer session at least in the members area as well. So.
Yeah. And that'll give us a chance to lock one down also when we get probably a little bit more than half. We didn't have to lock one down this time. And it gives us a chance to look at the registrants and make sure that we don't have any interlopers. So all those things we're doing. As far as the what the content will be tonight, we're going to dive right into the training. We figure by the time people actually attended the webinar on Friday, that was maybe 75 to 80% of our members. And then the replay, that maybe got another 10% of the members. So the only people, there's a very, very small number of people that didn't see the admin and housekeeping portion. What's our schedule going to be? What's this going to be? That how are we going to structure the sessions? A whole bunch of other things like our welcome and stuff. We're not going to redo that tonight. Okay, we're going to focus 100% on redoing the training, and we're doing it, we hope, better. So it will be a different type of presentation than we gave on Friday based on feedback that we got. So only this time in the replay area for this the first session, the replay will be split in 2. We're going to take the admin and housekeeping portion of Friday night. That'll be part 1, and then we're going to take this webinar, which is the training portion, and that will be part 2. Okay. So hopefully that's clear. Now, the one thing that we are going to change because we laid out all the webinar dates Friday night, but with this change here, to be fair, we're going to make some changes because people just don't have the time after seeing this improved training to get the things done that they need to get done. So for now, we're going to, instead of working on Thursdays, we're going to move to doing Mondays and Tuesdays. And again, delivering 2 sections per week. So we'll probably end up making that up later on in the course to keep us on track. It's only a few days behind anyway, but we will likely be able to make that up. But for now, that's what we're going to do. And we'll probably end up just scheduling 1 or 2 kind of weeks out in advance, just in case we run into any issues. Okay. Any issues, questions, anything else anybody else wants to add before we dive into training?
I think we're just getting some really good feedback about the 2 different sessions that we're going to be having.
Good.
So,
and
we're going to dive in. Good.
And I know a lot of people are kind of asking about ETA on go, no go emails. So.
Yeah. We'll talk about it when we get in here. I mean, we purposely have sort of just said, we'd like everybody to have an opportunity to watch this training. Because we think, we're going to do a much better job here without having to be worried about all the things that are going on behind the scenes, and also, again, incorporating a lot of the feedback from you folks. So we wanted to give everybody a chance to basically change their mind. So stand by.
One other question from AJ, just while we're taking these questions. He says, will there be PDFs to further explain what you're teaching, maybe in more detail? Yeah, we are going to have a summary PDF, AJ, for each of the webinars, and that might be a 3-page document, maybe a 5-page document, and also the slides that go along with each webinar training as well. So we have got a couple of other initiatives. It's not just the workshops, and I think those summary PDFs will be really, really, really helpful to everyone. Okay.
Yep. And somebody was saying on there, I saw, I don't dare log off because I'll never get back on. Don't worry. Listen, we're not having that problem, so don't worry about it. We the steps we took worked, and so we only have members with us tonight, and there's nobody getting kicked off, so everybody's good. Okay, so if you were attended the first session, you know that this is our session structure. We're going to start with the action items. So these are the action items that will need to be worked on between this session and the next session, and I want to start with those all the time so that you can keep them in the back of your mind as we're making sure that the training we give you this evening supports you being able to do these action items. So these are action items for session 1. Don't worry if they're not clear or you don't understand what they mean yet, but just keep them in the back of your mind. We want you to select your niche or niches, or niche or niches, however the hell you pronounce that. You're going to select 4 domains, you're going to obtain hosting, and you're going to get to a go, no-go point, which is going to kind of go over that with us and make sure that, that we're comfortable with what you've selected. All right, so that is the action items for session 1. So now what we need to make sure that we do is provide you with training to be able to get there. So we're going to give you some guidelines, recommendations. We're going to go over the audience insight tool, and we're going to give you some exceptions, as there always are, to the rule. But our goal at the end of the day, okay, and again, what I would encourage you to do is kind of, we're going to go through this whole thing, because it's sort of like you have to start from the beginning and then go through the whole process for you to get it all, I think. So don't worry too much if you don't know what a sub-niche is and a niche and all that kind of stuff. We're going to define all that as we go, and we have plenty of examples, okay? But our goal here is to end up with 4 sub-niches, all right? And that will mean we will have 4 websites that are going to be part of either 1 or 2 big niches. And again, I've got examples of that. So we're going to have 1 big niche that has 4 sub-niches, or we're going to have 2 big niches, and each of those 2 big niches has 2 sub-niches, okay? Now, for the big niche, and we'll talk a little bit more about how you brainstorm what a big niche could be, but you want to think big. You want to think huge, in fact. You want to think more than a 5 million audience size, and we'll show you how to evaluate that shortly. There is no maximum here, okay? We want at least 5 million, and we'll tell you give you some indications as to whether or not, you know, if you've found one that's too big, which is rare, we'll give you some indications about that. But you want to think big. You want to think about people, or you want to think about niches that have, where the people involved in them have a passion for it. Maybe it's their hobby, it's a profession of theirs, or maybe you already sell a white label product or an info product, or you know, you already do affiliate marketing for this sort of thing, and that will drive your niche. And again, we've got some examples of this. Obviously, all niche selection is very important. However, the worst thing that we've kind of seen is that people get paralyzed and they overthink it. And you really don't need to do that, okay? And particularly with the go, no-go process here. You also might want to consider seasonality. You know, if your big niche is gardening, you know, that may limit you slightly. You know, or if your big niche is winter sports, you know, something along those lines. You know, those things may limit you, and there's really, at the big niche level, there's probably no reason to do that. So at least consider that. Now, the sub-niche is basically where you think of the big niche and then you drill down, okay? Now, even in the sub-niche, bigger is better, okay? But we want to stay somewhere around that 5 million or less audience size, all right? Now, it's not an exact science. I mean, if you've got something that, you know, that you really feel is a sub-niche and it can't be drilled down any further, and it's 5.5 or it's 6 million, that's okay, okay? These are not designed as, these are not mathematical formulas, you know, these are guidelines, okay? Now, we also want our sub-niche to have other pretty big fan pages to ensure that there's a lot of content out there. All right, so we're going to look for sites, and again, we're going to show you all this. So we're basically telling you what we're going to show you, and then we're going to show you, okay? And then we'll come back to it. Make sure we actually showed you, all right? So we want our sub-niche to have other sizable fan pages to ensure that there's content out there. We're going to look for sites that have 150,000 likes and content that's being shared, and we'll show you what that means. And again, it's the same rules. You know, consider seasonality. Maybe sports was your big niche, and winter sports is one sub-niche. And again, maybe that's not really necessary, okay? And again, it's important, but don't overthink it because you don't want to get paralyzed. So, let's take a look at recommendation number 1. If you're not selling anything online right now, you don't have a white label product, you don't have an info product, you don't do any affiliate marketing or anything like that, then just do this right here. Recommendation number 1. Create 4 websites that are all sub-niches of one big niche, but they don't have overlapping content. Okay, so we don't want our sub-niches to have overlapping content. So let's take a look at the example. Cars is our big niche, and the audience is 50 million. So it's big. The bigger the better, remember. It is bigger than 5 million, so it meets our criteria. And these are our sub-niches. Muscle cars has 5 million audience, sports cars 5 million, drifting cars 2 million, and Jeeps 4.5 million. Now, if you look at these, they don't really overlap content. You know, for the most part, Jeeps is a set of cars all by itself. It doesn't belong with drifting cars. It definitely doesn't belong in sports cars, and it definitely doesn't belong in muscle cars. Okay, you could maybe make an argument about sports cars and muscle cars, but it's very subjective. Okay, so this is a great example, and basically what we did is and again we're going to show you lots more examples. I'm going to show you how we did this. Started with one big niche, and we need to make sure, in order to move forward with this, that there are 4 sub-niches that meet the criteria. Big audiences, but generally under that 5 million mark. Yeah, go ahead.
Just jump in. Everyone should be able to see Steve's screen. A few people have mentioned they can't see it. If this is you, then you may want to jump off and jump back on because as far as I can see, as far as I can tell, everyone else can actually see it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
okay,
oftentimes
so
when there's...
Jump off.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oftentimes when there's video or audio problems, if you log off and come back in, and again, you will get back in, I promise you. We do not have the interloper problem tonight. Then that will fix the problem. Okay. All right. So let's see. So this is our. So this is one example. Cars, 50 million. Muscle cars, sports cars, drifting cars, Jeeps. So here we have actually accomplished the. Well, some of the action items. Anyway, we picked a big niche. We picked 4 sub niches, and they are going to be our 4 websites in this example. Okay. Now, here's recommendation number 2, and we do have an example in a moment. If you do have products that you're selling, either physical products, info products, or you have a really good sales funnel for an affiliate offer or anything like that, basically if you're already making money online, then you probably want to go after 2 big niches, okay, with 2 websites each or 2 sub-niches each. In this case, again, please always remember, sub-niche equals website in our example. So what you'll do is you'll choose one big niche that's around your product. Again, your info product, physical product, affiliate, sales funnel, whatever. And you'll have, with a big audience, but generally under 5 million in size, okay, and we'll show you an example in a second. And you'll have 2 websites that are sub-niche websites. And then you'll choose another big niche, maybe around your passion or interest or hobby, and you'll have 2 websites under that, 2 sub-niches under that. So let's take a look at an example, if I can talk. So let's say that you sell these gloves that are basically like, you know, hot pad kinds of things, or, you know, for pulling hot things out of the oven. Oven mitts. That's what I was searching for. But really cool, you know, super sexy, modern oven mitts. So let's say you sell those. Your big niche can't be like, you know, cooking utensils, you know, because it's not big enough, right? So what is your big niche? Well, cooking. Cooking makes sense, right? So 30 million people in cooking, and then you can pick 2 sub-niches under cooking, and we'll show you ideas on how to pick sub-niches in a moment. So maybe comfort food and pastry, okay? And that becomes two of your websites. That's 2 of your sub-niches under cooking. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we're going to build a whole audience to eventually be able to sell our white label products to as well, okay? So that's why we want to make sure that people who are on the right side of the screen here would be interested in our product. So do you think people who are, you know, into cooking and comfort foods and pastry would be interested in our product? Sure, of course. Everybody needs these kinds of things to pull hot stuff out of the oven. And maybe our passion or our hobby whatever are cars. So we can do some of the cars example. All right? So we looked at two different people here. The first person doesn't sell anything online, and that person is going to pick one big niche and have 4 sub-niches underneath them that will become their 4 websites. All right? And we'll go over, again, the criteria in a moment. And then we have another example. Yes, go ahead.
So a couple of people are just saying they don't see the significance of the big niche. Like if you've got 4 sub-niches, what is the significance of the big niche? And I guess, do you want to take that one?
Sure, yeah. It'll come in handy later when we have to deal with content and finding good content, being able to test good content, and things like this. Essentially, it makes your job a hell of a lot easier and faster and quicker results to be able to focus on one bigger niche than it would be to have 4 thrown to the wind, you know, muscle cars, comfort food, kittens, and, you know, whatever, water sports, I don't know. So it just is going to, we're all about, in phase 1, making your lives as easy as we possibly can and making this process as efficient as we possibly can. And so limiting the big niches to 1 or 2 makes that possible. And you'll see that later. Okay? All right. So here's some ways to brainstorm the big niche. You know, we talked about passions. We talked about interests that you might have, occupations, hobbies. We used to do this all the time. Go to the dummies guides. You know, they have a homepage, they have a website. Anything that's, you know, that somebody wrote a dummies guide on is probably pretty close to a big niche, you know, or else nobody would buy the book, you know. Magazine rack, if it has a magazine about it, it may not be a big niche, but it'll get you on the trail of a big niche. It's certainly on the way. You know, what friends and family are doing, you know, their hobbies, interests, occupations, passions, for sure. And then we have Project 55, which will be there tonight, I think, in the bonus area. So that's what I was told. It'll be there either tonight or tomorrow morning. So Project 55, for many of you who got that bonus, is a whole list of just a ton of niches that you can look at and you can use, or you can use them to, you know, kind of just springboard your brainstorming. Okay. And you want anything?
I have just put the. No, I was just going to say I've just put the Facebook Audience Insights tool. I've shared the link to that in the chat box, so everyone should be able to see that. And yeah, I just think that passions is a great place to start. And if not your passion, then think about the people around you. For example, my wife enjoys doing different things to what I enjoy doing. So I could, you know, make a list of what her passions are, and they'll probably be completely different to what mine are. And that's
God knows my wife's are very different from mine. I would agree with that.
So that's another good way to think about this. And Chris has just mentioned that Project 55 is actually up. So take a look at that after we finish this call as well. We'll have the link inside the members area.
Yeah, I just put the link up now too.
And I'm assuming, Chris, that's in the members area. It's in the bonus area, yes?
I'm just putting it on right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool, great. Good. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, the Audience Insight tool. Some people can't get to it. Okay. If you can't, do not worry. All right, I'm going to tell you where you can get a step-by-step guide to be able to get to Audience Insight. So if that link does not work for you, that's in here. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, so that's brainstorming the big niche. Let's talk a little bit about how we can get from the big niche to the sub-niche. And again, we're going to show you some of this. So let's say you got a big niche cars, you got a big niche cooking, and you're not sure what sub-niches you could go after. Well, you know, we're going to look at Facebook pages search. That's going to be easy. You could just type it into Google. I mean, when in doubt, just type stuff into Google and you'll be amazed at the sort of things that come back. Google News Search is another one. Just go to google.com/news and do a search for the big niche there, and you'll find all sorts of news stories that relate to the big niche that will point you to sub-niches. And we have a concrete example of that in a moment. Pinterest. Just type in the big niche into Pinterest. You'll get tons of stuff back. Wikipedia. Go to Wikipedia and start, going through a hierarchical search. Google image search, same thing almost as Pinterest. All these things. I mean, almost any kind of search kind of thing, will give you some guidelines and ideas and brainstorming points to get from cars to muscle cars, to drifting cars, to sports cars, to Jeeps. Okay. But
You mentioned this, Steve, but one of my favorites is always just going and having a look at the magazine stand, or have a look in your bookshop at the different book categories and just see, okay, well, which ones of these are passion-driven subjects. And pretty much all the magazines are, because people don't sell magazines about things that people are not really passionate about, for the most part. So that's a great place to start. And those big magazine companies have already done all the research for you.
Yep. Okay. Now, one of the tools that we use is the Audience Insight tool, and this is the an example of what it looks like. Now this tool it's basically intended to assist people and businesses that run ads on Facebook, okay? Which we're not doing right now. We're just using it to gather intelligence and to brainstorm, okay? So don't get overwhelmed by it, and don't allow it to sort of overcomplicate things. We're going to use it in a very, very simplistic manner. Later on, we'll use it in a much more detailed way. Okay? But for now, we want to take this step by step by step. Now, if you cannot get to the Insight tool, and we'll show you where it is in just a second, then under Resources, there is a guide, a PDF, on how to go from an account that can't see it to an account that can see it. It's a very straightforward process. You just have to follow it. Chris, that's in the resource area, yeah? Just want to make sure. Are you muted, Chris?
Sorry, which? Yeah, sorry, which?
I just want to make sure that the guide on how to get to the Insight tool is in the resource area. I just want to make sure we're pointing people to the right place.
It's the very first one.
Okay, good. Now, if you are able to access it, there's a bunch of different ways you can try the link that's in here that Aiden put into the chat box, or you can see it down here at the bottom. Or you can go right over to that little, what do we call that, a chevron? Is that what we call that? The triangle? That's to the right of the globe there. And there's a drop-down box, and you go to Manage Ads. And again, this is just if you don't see that, then go to that, follow that guide. You go to Manage Ads, and you'll go into the Ad Manager. And then on the left-hand side, you just click on Audience Insights. Okay? And then choose an audience to start. Just click Everyone on Facebook, and you should be in. Okay? All right, so if you have this available, the Manage Ads thing that's circled, then you don't have to worry about following the steps that are in the resource area. But Facebook, I'll tell you, Facebook is almost maybe more challenging of a user interface when you get into advanced stuff than Google AdWords, which is really saying a lot. And they change it just as often as well without telling anybody. So go to the triangle, Manage Ads. You'll be in the Ad Manager. And again, we're not running any ads right now. Then you go to Audience Insights, click that, and select Everyone on Facebook, and you're in. Okay. Now, what are we going to use the Audience Insight tool for? We're going to use it to basically verify that a big niche that you've thought of works, and that the sub-niches are there, and they work. So what we're looking for, if you remember, is a big niche where the audience is big, okay? The bigger the better. And I wouldn't worry in the beginning if it's too big. We've got, a rule or two that I'll walk you through if it's too big. but the audience size needs to be at least 5 million, and we're going to show you in just a second where you see that. For sub-niches, first thing is we want big audiences again, but smaller than the big niche, and they need to be a part of the big niche. Okay? Generally around 5 million or under for the audience size, but the bigger the better. Okay? And the key is that when you end up selecting your 4 sub-niches, there isn't any crossover of the content, you know? All right? In other words, you don't pick one niche, which is really just like a level below your big niche and encompasses the other sub-niche, you know? So for example, if your big niche is cars, your sub-niche is sports cars, and then you pick Corvettes. Well, you know, Corvettes is really a part of sports cars. So you could pick one or the other as long as Corvettes is big enough, okay? But you wouldn't want to have both because, you know, you're really having overlapping content there. The other thing we're looking for in the sub-niche is that there are other fan pages with sizable amounts of likes and content that is being shared. Now for both the big niche and the sub-niche, consider seasonality. For both niches, let's for now select United States, okay? So let's look at a real live example. We go into audience insights and we say, you know what, one of the things that we're passionate about is hunting, okay? Because we just can't get enough of killing small defenseless forest creatures. So, hunting is our niche. We take a look at the audience and we go, yep, it's big. It's greater than 5 million, okay? And for now, that's really kind of the only big, you know, thing we have to look at. So you can see where it says new audience there. It defines how many people are the active audience. In this case, 25 to 30 million, okay? And you can see the things that we've selected here on the left-hand side. United States, 18 and up, all genders, and then we just go into the interest and we start typing in the interest. In this case, it's hunting. All right? So we found a big niche, for sure. How do we find a sub-niche to start looking at and testing? Well, you know, one of the things you can do is go down to the page likes there that you see, and you can start looking and see what other people like in that audience, okay? And I'm trying to find the one that sent us on, oh, down number 9, we saw the Big Buck Club, okay?
Do you want me to open this live, Steve?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to open this live, or would you prefer just to stay on the slides?
No, you know, we got some feedback that when we did the live demo of Facebook, it wasn't very clear.
Okay.
For whatever reason, you know, screen resolutions and all that kind of stuff, and people said the slides were crystal clear. So we thought that we would, you know, just stick with slides.
Okay,
So,
cool.
Yeah. But you can see down here on number 9, my cursor's on there. I don't know if you can see that or not. The Big Buck Club, right? So that starts me thinking about deer hunting and Bass Pro Shops. That starts me thinking a little bit about fishing, kind of all part of hunting. We're just hunting for, you know, and killing defenseless creatures that live in the ocean as opposed to the forest, right? By the way, I'm not anti-hunter. Just want to throw that out there. I just don't get the pleasure of it, but I understand the need for it, actually. So, so remember those. Deer hunting, fishing, those are things that just by looking at this page, we can start to think about as sub-niches. So deer hunting, let's type that in. All the stuff on the left is the same, except in interest, we put deer hunting instead of just hunting. And sure enough, what do we come up with? A nice big audience, right? 4.5 to 5 million, right in the range that we're looking for. No more than, you know, 5 million-ish, but a big audience. So that looks like a winner for sure. Okay. Now, trying to think if we found something on this. Just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, we found. So, oh yeah. So if you look on number 6 here, as we looked through the other pages that people like, we saw bow hunting right here on number 6. I thought, okay, that might make a good sub niche. So there we go, bow hunting, 2.5 to 3 million. Winner, winner, right? So far, we have to check some other stuff, but you know, most of the time, if you have a big audience, the other stuff's gonna be there. Okay. Now we thought, well, we're kind of running out of ideas. We still have that fishing thing. Let's type in hunting into Google News. So we typed hunting into Google News, and just look at the things that came up. So man hunting pheasants is electrocuted in Detroit. So that sort of caught my attention. And we thought, well, pheasant hunting, that's probably kind of small, but you know, what other bird hunting is there that could be pretty big? Turkey hunting. Okay. 700,000. Not as big as the others. Big enough, and you know, under 5,000 or under 5 million. Sub niche. Okay. So we used Google News in that example, and then we went back to our fishing, and we started thinking about deep sea fishing and what the different types of fishing are, and you can do that by typing it into Google or Google News or images, and we came across fly fishing. And that's a very passionate thing. People are like crazy with fly fishing. And sure enough, 2 to 2.5 million active users. Winner, winner. Okay. So, I don't know if we have a summary slide, I forget. I don't think we do. So, we've got a big niche hunting, okay? And we've got sub niches so far: deer hunting, bow hunting, turkey hunting, fly fishing. And you saw exactly how we got from one step to the next. Now, there are a bunch of ways to get from the big niches to the small niches. One of the ways is to look here on the Facebook screen, you know, under the what other people like, what people in that audience also like, okay? The other is to go to Google News, as I pointed out, and all those, I gave you a whole bunch of ideas, right? The other way is to go back, get out of Audience Insight, okay, and just do a Facebook search. And this is another way that you can see, if you put hunting in here, you'll get a whole bunch of different pages, okay? We're going to use this for something else in a second, but that's another way where you can go from a big niche if you're running out of ideas and you can't figure out the sub-niches. Oftentimes, it's also just common sense, right? So I remember when, you know, months ago, we were sitting around talking about how can we teach some of these things. And I think it was Mark said, well, for God's sake, sometimes, you know, you just use your brain, you know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but that's hard to put on a slide, you know. But you guys know what I mean, right? You know, if you're thinking about hunting, deer hunting is probably not a big stretch for you to make, okay?
One thing just to add in there, a few people said, well, isn't hunting seasonal? And yeah, it may be seasonal depending on what type of hunting it is, but what you also have to remember is that you've got an international audience. Unless your topic, your niche, is only in the United States or only in the Northern Hemisphere, then you're actually going to have an international audience, because when it's out of season in the Northern Hemisphere, it's in season in the Southern Hemisphere. And even if it is seasonal, if sometimes there's still like a decent enough trend to go forward with it anyway. So I would urge you not to overthink this, because almost every niche that you're going to come up with, you can make money. We're just trying to give you the ideas where you can make money the easiest. So hopefully that answers.
And I think, you know, there's some niches that are more susceptible to the problems of seasonality than others, right? Swimming, you know, winter sports, that kind of thing. Even though the same thing can be said that Aiden just said, obviously the seasons are different from the Northern Hemisphere to the Southern Hemisphere, they are still much, much more affected by seasonality than what is essentially a year-long thing for hunting. The seasons change, right? But it's not as impacted by seasonality as other things that are very, very much more strict. And again, you can be hunting for one thing in one season and hunting for another thing in another season. So any other questions on this to try and just make sure we nail this part of it? And we're going to do some more examples.
I think most people are starting to get it. I've been busy answering a few questions here in the chat box. I think most people are starting to get it.
Okay.
Roger's saying, do you have to use Google Trends? You don't really have to use Google Trends because the best data that you can get is inside Facebook anyway.
Yeah.
But
all of those things are helpful, to get ideas.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that a few people kind of maybe need clarification on is that each of your sub-niches should kind of be a little bit different in some way. For example, if I was doing soccer, I wouldn't do one sub-niche soccer lessons, another one soccer, another one, I may do different soccer championships. I might do the Premier League. That might be one of my sort of, sub-niches, and another one might be what's it called, Major League Football or something, potentially, or Major League Soccer, I think it's called.
I don't know.
Major League Soccer. I might do that, but I wouldn't do something like, golf training, golf lessons, golf,
right,
because it's too similar.
Yeah, it's a general rule. You don't want your sub-niches to overlap. That's the bottom line. You don't want content for one to be appropriated for content for the other sub-niche.
Yeah. The other thing is, remember that the types of niches you're looking at should ideally be things that people are proud to talk about, proud to share videos about, proud to talk about with their friends. So, for example, I sometimes tell this story. One of the first ever websites that I built as an affiliate marketer was about hemorrhoids, of all things. And it made a lot of money, but it's definitely not a niche that people are proud to be talking about. Okay, so those gruesome health issues, just stay away from that. Okay, so a few people were putting in, or one or two people were putting in things about, ClickBank products for, acne, ovarian cysts and things like this. Just stay away from them for this, because people are not proud. Or they're kind of embarrassing things that people don't actually want to talk about, so it doesn't lend itself very well to this. So hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer as well.
Yep. Good. All right, let's move on. Now, so what we did, right, is we satisfied, if we just go back for a second, we satisfied a couple of the criteria. We found a big niche, hunting, and we satisfied that criteria from an audience perspective, which is really the only criteria we have. We found 4 sub-niches: deer hunting, bow hunting, turkey hunting, and fly fishing. And we found those and verified that the audience was good, all right? But the other thing that we have to do for each of the sub-niches is make sure that we have enough content available and that there is audience engagement levels that are favorable for us. So the way we're going to do that is we can go to and this is a little bit easier than using the audience insight tool, okay? You can get out of that and just go to regular Facebook, your Facebook homepage, and type into the search the sub-niche and look for pages that belong to that sub-niche, all right? And what we're looking for are pages that have, we're looking for a pattern of, 4 or 5 pages at least that have 150,000 likes or more, and that there's content on those pages. So one of the sub-niches we picked was bow hunting. So we type that in, we look at pages that come up, and we go to one of the sites right here, okay? And we already know that by, right here, there's 382,000 people like it, okay? You can see that. We've got 1, 2, 3, and there's more down below this that are more than 150,000. okay? But we'll look at the other thing we want to go look and see is there content being shared. So we go here and we see, yeah, sure enough, we've got hundreds of people that are liking these posts and sharing these posts and all that kind of stuff. So clearly, there's regularly shared content here that people are consuming, all right? And then if we go to another one, and this one had 408,000 people like this page, and you can see tons and tons of people are sharing and liking the content. I mean, 3.5 thousand people like it, 1,400 shares. I mean, there's a lot going on. Okay? So clearly, I don't know if we have another example. Yeah. And it's all fresh content as well. You can see a couple hours ago, 16 hours ago, a couple days ago, all dead animals.
Steve,
Lovely.
Steve,
Yeah.
you can also see on this example, you see how the top left one, they're slipping in a little white label product offering.
Oh,
so
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Another quick example. If I was doing something like, if I was doing beer, for example, as my main niche, I wouldn't break that down into four different. I wouldn't do one about stouts, one against lagers or something. I would make beer a sub niche, and I would make, maybe wine would be another sub niche, something like that. I wouldn't. You have to be careful if you get too granular because you're going to run out of content.
Yep.
And it's more of a feeling that you get, but you'll be able to run that stuff past us anyway. So if you're not sure, remember, you've always got our support and stuff. You've got the go, no go, stamp for approval, so you will be able to run all this past us.
Yeah. And we have a rule or two at the end here to sort of try to safeguard against what Aiden's saying. And a couple of people were saying, they weren't sure whether you were saying beer or bear. So just,
Okay. Well, I don't know how to explain it.
That's his lovely accent.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so we got plenty of fresh content. So clearly, this one meets the objectives. Okay, again, if we go back up, we found the big niche. We satisfied all the objectives there. We found 4 sub-niches. We satisfied all of the audience size objectives. And for one of the sub-niches, bow hunting, we satisfied the content and audience engagement requirement. And so that one goes in the we're done column. And then we just have to repeat that for the other sub-niches. Okay? Now here's some other examples with numbers, so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about here. Okay? And again, there is no, absolute right or wrong. Okay? But, hopefully showing you, 6, 7, 8 examples will really get you going. Okay? And Project 55 will give you even more. All right? So finance, and then underneath finance, and this would be somebody, if somebody was really, so excited about their career in accounting or something, I guess. Options, real estate investing, foreign exchange, 401ks, dogs, that would be my favorite. And the sub-niche direction there was to go with breeds. But you could go with other things. You could do dog training, could be one sub-niche. You could go with, I don't know, now my mind's drawing a blank, but you don't have to, I guess my point was, with a niche as big as dogs, right, you don't have to just go with breeds. This is just one example. You could go with dog training, you could go with dogs with careers, like police dogs or TSA dogs or, something like that, right? So it's not like if you have the big niche dogs, these are the only sub-niches you can come up with. Absolutely not. There's often multiple different sub-niches and directions you can go with one big niche, okay? I mean, sports, great example. You come up with 1 million sports. But they have to meet the criteria, yeah? Now you'll notice that some of these have greater than 5 million in the sub-niche, okay? And we put that there on purpose, and I think we address it in the next slide. Some things just don't fit the parameters. They kind of just are what they are, right? So you can't really drill down further on them. So electric guitar is really a good example. So guitars might be your niche, and or maybe even musical instruments might be your niche, depending on your big niche. And electric guitar may be one of your sub niches, and you look at it and you go, well, it's 15 million is the audience size. So yes, it kind of breaks a rule, but on the other hand, you really can't break electric guitar down anymore into niches that are big enough to care about, into sub niches that are big enough to care about. So it is what it is, and that's okay. That's okay. All right. So you just have to be under. I spent all this time trying to give you very clear-cut requirements, and then I just break the rule. But you just have to realize that this is where the brain comes in, and we're humans, so we can be flexible in our thinking, and this is not a mathematical equation, but it is guidelines that will help you try and figure this out. Okay. So here are things to watch out for. Some niches just don't have enough content. You'll see that when you look at the sub niches, right? Because they just won't have pages. They won't have, if you're having a lot of trouble finding sub niches that meet the criteria of audience engagement, then you might want to change your big niche. Okay. And even if they have content, some of them might not have content engagement. Like having a bunch of posts that have at least 100 shares and that kind of stuff. You can go one level higher, or just bigger, right? If you're having trouble finding sub niches. Maybe it's not really an appropriate big niche. Maybe you need to go one level higher. So if you started at muscle cars, that's really a sub niche, not a big niche, right? But it can trick you. But if you can't break it down further, then just go up one level and go to cars, right? That'll be your big niche, and muscle cars will be your sub niche. So here's some other things that I think can help you out. Just how do I know if my big niche is too small? Even if, and by small, it really means more about content and engagement and stuff like that, even if the audience size met the criteria. Let's say it was exactly 5 million. You want the bigger the better, right? It has to be at least 5 million. So 5 million is certainly the lowest end of the scale. But if you pick one that's small and you cannot find enough sub niches that meet the criteria, you're going to have to pick a big niche. So how do you know if your big niche is too big? Maybe it's too big if the sub niche is really, if one level down just seems too big and you have overlapping content. You're having trouble finding sub niches that are less than like 10 million or 20 million audience size, and it seems as though every sub niche I pick can have overlapping content with another one. Well, then you probably started too big, which is probably more rare of a problem. So how do you know if your sub niche is too small? Let's say it's 200,000. Well, if there really are not enough Facebook pages and audience engagement within that sub niche, you can't find enough stuff out there, then your sub niche is probably too small. And if your sub niches are perpetually too small, then your big niche is probably too small. So see 0.1 above. All right. And how do I know if my sub niche is too big? It's too big if it starts to encroach on other sub niches. There could be overlapping content. So some people start to type in something in the Audience Insight tool, in the interest search, and it's not there. And that just means that specific interest doesn't exist, or it's lumped in with something else. Okay. And then, what if the liked pages don't relate to my subniche in the Insight tool? So let me show you what I mean by that. Here. we're trying to use the page likes here, the top categories and the top pages and stuff, to brainstorm a little bit. But what if they just don't have anything to do with the sub niche you're looking at or the big niche you're looking at? Then you can use the alternate method of just going back to the Facebook homepage and typing it in there and looking at the pages. Okay. Okay, that, folks, is a wrap on finding a big niche and finding 4 sub niches to go with it. What questions do we have before we dive into, now that we know what our 4 sub niches are, how do we figure out what domains we want to get?
A couple of people have just been saying, when you said that the niche content should not overlap, that was like a penny dropped for them. They realised then how this is all playing out, and a lot of people are saying that it was explained incredibly well, and now they understand it. They were a little bit confused last time, but now they absolutely understand it. So that's some good feedback. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you. Good. All right. All right, well, let's move on to domains. Okay.
Oh, real quick before you do, I apologize. Let's try to get there. So brands and things like that. So using brand names for like sub niches. That was another point of comment or a topic here. So like for instance, using electric guitar brand names, things like that.
Sorry, that people were asking whether it's a good idea.
Correct. Yeah, and I want to obviously it's not, because we don't want to use domain names with brand names in them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that there's a whole bunch of reasons why you don't want to center things around brand names. I definitely think that that's not a good idea. Yep. Okay, so what makes it? So now we've got a big niche, we've got 4 sub niches. Now we know those 4 sub niches are going to become websites. Okay. So if they're going to become websites, we need domain names. So what's a domain name? It's just what you type in, www.100kfactory.com. So 100kfactory.com, in that case, is the domain name. So this is kind of a fun exercise if you have any creativity, which admittedly I struggle with, but it's great to be creative here and think outside the box. Unlike many other things we do in internet marketing, these domains do have a certain amount of branding that's appropriate for them, because people are going to see these domain names and they're going to be visiting your site and they're going to see that brand and things like that. So it's probably a little bit more important, domain names, than it is in other areas of internet marketing. But I think we can still make it kind of an easy process for you if you don't have a lot of creativity. So just know that it doesn't always have to make sense, like Mashable and Twitter, they don't make any sense. However, probably for you, it probably makes more sense to have them related to the sub niche. And it's really cool to combine either the niche slang or the jargon with other words. And we're going to give you a whole slide of other words that you can combine it with. So if you're thinking about baseball as the sub niche, you think about strikeout or balk or, I don't know, dugout, or who knows. I don't know. I'm not a baseball fan. And .com is definitely a preferred, is preferred over .net or .org and things like that. So here are a whole bunch of things, words, that you could combine, all right, with some of that jargon or a term that is another meaning or word that has the same meaning as your niche. So if you look at strikeout or balk or dugout, you could think of like the strikeout zone, the strikeout spot, the balk spot, balk station, balk blab, balk space, balk daily, right? Whoops. Dugout chronicle, dugout buzz. I don't know who put zizzle in there. What the hell is that? Strike Gazette, Strike World, Strike Corner, right? You see how this can work. So this is like the perfect slide for somebody like me who is completely not creative. And so I can just go here and just combine a whole bunch of things. Okay. All right. Oh, here's some other resources. And one or more of these came from suggestions from you folks. So Dotamator and Panabi. And I remember playing with Panabi at one point. But here are some examples of that. So Dotamator creates domain names out of, you just give it some words, right? And it just creates domain names. Does it? Whoever's used Dotamator, does it actually say that they're available?
Yeah.
I guess it does.
Yeah, you can see it. See where it says results there.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are available, and we use this all the time as well. I use this one.
I don't know that I've used this one. I've used the other one, but so that's pretty cool. Now, just for people who are kind of new, domains. There are a couple different ways. There are a bunch of different ways to get a domain name that becomes yours. All right. If it's never ever been used before, or it was used and given up, then you can simply register it. You can claim it as your own. You can go to GoDaddy or SiteGround, and you can just say, nobody has this one, and in this case, like Strikeility, or whatever the hell that word means, Strikeility. Nobody has registered that ever, or somebody registered it, used it, and decided they didn't want it anymore, and so it goes back in the pool. Okay. So those are available to just go, and you can pay GoDaddy or StrikeGround, and you can just say, I want this. I'm going to register this. We'll show you other places to get domains in a moment. So this is Dotamator, and you can play with this, and you could waste several hours playing with this, frankly. And this one as well. Put a couple words in there, and all of a sudden, it starts to just come up with all sorts of different things. This one you could probably waste a good 3-4 hours, I would say. Plus it's got pandas on it. I mean, that's a win. All right. And I don't remember if this tells you.
By the way, guys, just to clarify, Domains on Fire is our own domain name tool, which you can all have access to. If you go to domainsonfire.com, you won't be able to get it there because we've taken it off the market. It's only available inside 100K Factory. I'm not sure if we already have the link inside 100K Factory, but you guys all get access to that. And the link is in there. So you guys all get access to that.
Right there.
Oh, there you go. You're one step ahead of me.
Yep.
There's a few people asking about that. So that is available, guys.
Go into Software Suite in the members area and click there to register for Domains on Fire. Okay? Because that's the next area that we'll look at for getting domains. Please, please, please remember, if you weren't getting the emails over the weekend, we sent out 2 emails, I think 2 over the weekend. If you weren't getting those, please, please click that email sign-up button. It's like a pet peeve of mine now. Okay. So here's how you get Domains on Fire, and you'll register, but then you'll go back there to sign in. And this is what Domains on Fire looks like. Now, so I told you about domains that are freely available. They're not free. They're cheap, but they're not free. Meaning that either no one has ever registered them, or someone registered them and then just let them go. Okay? Those you can get anywhere. You do not need Domains on Fire for that. Right? There are other types of, there's another category of domains, and those are domains that are sort of available. And they're sort of available because they are either for sale or for sale by auction, okay? Or they're in this process of somebody has given them up and there's a grace period, but you can get on the list to get it as long as that person is really giving it up, all right? Now, there are other more complicated statuses of domains. The help file within Domains on Fire is excellent and goes through all the different statuses of a domain. If you're new, okay, what I would focus on using domains on fire are for GoDaddy auctions. You'll see over on the right-hand side, you can select just GoDaddy auctions, and you can put like a max price of like, you know, $10. Okay, over on the right side. That to me is the easiest thing to go after. The others become a little bit more complex about waiting for grace periods and all this kind of stuff, right? So Domains on Fire goes out and says, let me collect all of the domains that are either for sale in some way, okay, or are going to become available because they're in this sort of gray area status. And it allows you to search and slice and dice through them. So maybe we want to go, you know what, I don't know what's out there. I'm just going to put in one word, must contain the word strike. So you see that on the left. We're just going to do a broad search here because we're not going to select anything else, and we'll hit search. Well, we get 481 domains. So that's probably too big, okay? So now what we'll do is we'll get rid of all hyphens, digits, and adult ones, adult domains. We'll select only GoDaddy auctions. We'll select only .com, and we'll select a max price of 50. So that should dramatically cull the herd. And it does. Now we have 58 of them. Okay? And, you know, maybe we really like this one, DD Strike, or Claim Strike. Okay? And it's $12 right now, and a lot of times that's a buy it now. So you could just click on that domain, DD Strike, and it will take you to a page where it tells you a little bit more about the domain, and you can click buy it, and it will take you over to GoDaddy auctions, and you can purchase the domain. Okay? So you've essentially done the same thing, all right, as registering a new domain, but you've bought one that somebody was selling, and many times they sell them for, you know, again, just a few dollars. Now the other thing that Domains on Fire does is it allows you to check the domain health. And we are very interested in whether or not a domain has ever been blackballed, whether it's on a blacklist or it's on a Google AdSense ban. Okay? Even new domains have at least some potential to have been on the Google AdSense ban, because just because they're new, quote unquote new, doesn't mean they were never used. Okay? So you do, right? So when you click on the domain health over there on the right-hand side, Domains on Fire will go out and query the domain health, all right? And it will tell you whether it's been banned on AdSense or if it's blacklisted, okay? What you're looking for are green check marks on the blacklist. Don't worry about any of the other stuff yet. You're looking for green checks on the blacklist, and you're looking for the message that says this domain does not appear to be banned by AdSense. Okay. Now I will tell you tonight, oftentimes what happens is this information we get in a variety of different ways, and you know, one of the ways is that we also query some Google products to see if it's been banned by AdSense. And I would say once every 2 months or so, they change that interface and it breaks our link, but it's fixed in, you know, about 12 hours. And unfortunately tonight, they did that. So by tomorrow morning, you should all be able to get valid domain healths. But tonight, there is a problem with it. So just be aware of that. So, you know, I hesitate to even go too much into this because I don't know if it shows age here. Yeah. So you can see here it shows the age of the domain. It's a complicated discussion about how you calculate age. But essentially this 6 means that this domain has been registered and active for 6 years. Okay? If you could get an age domain, I would say that that is good for a bunch of reasons. However, I do not want us to worry about it, really. we're building. We have a mission in front of us. Okay, to build out 4 websites, get to a run rate of revenue that we want. We have much to do, and I don't want us to get hung up on getting an age domain versus a brand new one. So I wanted to just say what it is because people will talk about it, and in general, it's probably better. All other things being equal, which is the hard part to determine, right? So I would say if you're a beginner, do not worry about these age domains. And in fact, I would say if you're a beginner, just register for new domain names. There are plenty of them out there, okay? And we'll show that in a second. If you're a little more advanced, go for it. Do whatever you want.
Yep. And just to reiterate, don't use brand names in your domain name.
Nope.
I've done that a few times in the past, and it did not end nicely. Okay,
Yeah.
You put yourself at risk of getting horrible letters in the mail from corporate giant to wanting to sue you or something. It's horrible. Just don't go down that path. Just get a generic domain name so you're staying well away from trouble. Okay.
One of my claims to fame was I got the whole package in the mail from Oprah's attorneys, and they were threatening to sue me. So that was my daughter got very excited that we got something in the mail from Oprah. I was like, yeah, no, I don't think that's really what. I don't think we should be excited, princess. No. So we'll show you a couple screenshots again if you're new, where to just get your brand new domains, but you can get them wherever you want. It doesn't matter.
Also, I would prefer to use a .com where possible. If you can find a good brandable .com, that would be my absolute preferable option. If you can't, but you get a really good .net, then I might use that. But .com would definitely be the best. If you are doing this, and again, this is probably the minority, but if you are, or if you were doing a niche where you were just in the UK, for example, then you could use a .co.uk. But that's going to be quite a rare case, I think. For most people, for the vast majority of people, you just want a .com.
Yeah, if you're new, get a new domain, or one that at least is, available. Let's put it that way. It may have been used 10 years ago, but we don't care. Get a new domain, get a .com, and still do run it through the health check before you register it. By the way, the health check, if you don't want to search for a domain and you just want, like if it's a new domain that wouldn't be in Domains of Fire, you could just go right here where it says, right in the middle, Domain AdSense and Health Checks. Type in the domain name that you want to register and just hit search and leave everything else blank, and it will give you a health report on that. Okay.
Also, again, to reiterate, do not get a .co, .co, do not get .info. I mean, these domains often cost just a few dollars, but you are much better to spend, $7, $8, $10 and actually get a good .com domain, because when your website's up and running and making money, it's going to be negligible, the difference, and if you get a .info, you'll probably struggle to get it making money in the first place. I mean, that's why we say get a .com. Just trust us on this. It will help you out in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't get .club, .expert, or anything like that.
.tv.
Steve, there's several questions with respect to, since we're on this domain section, and you may be getting to hosting or why SiteGround hosting and how that plays into our Launchpad software or etc.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it in a second.
Perfect.
So you can just go to GoDaddy and you can put a domain name in there, and you can get it registered at GoDaddy. That's fine. Or you can go to SiteGround and you can register there, get a free domain name right there. Is it free if you do the hosting with SiteGround? I don't know the answer to that. Is that part of the deal?
I'm not actually sure about that. But when we do talk about the hosting, I will explain why we like SiteGround.
Yeah.
I think you get the first year's hosting on one domain name.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not the first year's hosting. The first year's registration for a domain name.
Yeah.
When you sign up for hosting.
If you use their hosting. Okay, cool. So let's just talk about hosting for just a second. So I've gotten this question all the time. When do I know that my hosting is not up to snuff? Unfortunately, most of the time, the only way you know is when it fails. Because, they can tell you what it is, they can tell you what the bandwidth is, and, if somebody said to you, well, the bandwidth is 20 gigabytes per second per blah, 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 what the hell does that mean to you? It really doesn't mean anything, right? So, unfortunately, all these people who are coming up to us and saying, well, can I use my hosting program? Probably from a performance standpoint, especially if you didn't have any problem with it in the past. However, you do have to understand that these websites are going to get a lot more traffic than you're used to, so that's a concern, right? And, we really can't sort of analyze your hosting package and determine whether it's going to be a problem. And neither can you, for the most part. You'll know when it breaks. Unfortunately, that's kind of the answer. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you're a beginner, I definitely want you to use SiteGround, okay? Because the only way that you're going to be able to use our software to do the push-button installation of the websites is if you use SiteGround. And the reason behind that is simply very easy. We just had to program for one host. You can't do it for everyone. So, but if you know what you're doing with websites and you can install WordPress and you're comfortable with that, every other piece of the Launchpad is going to work just fine, including posting to that website and all that kind of stuff. So don't worry about it. It's not, you're not going to give up anything that's terribly important. But if you're a beginner and you're not familiar with websites, you don't want to deal with it, okay? So you want to sign up for the SiteGround hosting. It's like $7 a month, okay?
Yeah, it's $7.95. Just to clarify, the plan is called, and I put the link to that, guys. I put that in the chat box. We made a special link for that, and it costs $7.95, and it's been really robust in all the testing that we've done too. The link again is in the chat box for that. Okay. And it's also in the website in the resources section.
Yeah. So there
site.
you go. I mean, that's your decision in front of you that you have to make. But and of course, if you're familiar with websites and you already have hosting, you already know that if your hosting does fail, it's not irrecoverable. You can move your hosting. So, it's not the end of the world. So the other thing I don't want you to worry about right now is what to do with the domains and hosting. So let's say you're a complete newbie, and you've registered 4 domains, and you got all this information from GoDaddy, and you signed up for hosting, and you got all this information from the hosting. You're no doubt sitting there going, oh my God, I don't understand any of this. What am I supposed to do with all this? And I'm going to make it very easy. Don't do anything. Don't do anything. Okay? Because that's not part of our action plan for this week. Okay? We are going to eat the elephant one bite at a time. Okay?
Steve, just to jump in here, some people are confused about hosting. Now, you only need one hosting account. This $7.95 for the one that we're recommending, you don't need to do that for every single domain name. You can put all of your websites inside the same hosting, okay? So hopefully that's clear for everyone. You don't need to sign up for SiteGround for every single website. You just do it once and you put all your websites inside that account, okay? And it also works very well with WordPress, which is another one of the reasons why we like using it.
Yep. Yeah. Now, we would like you to submit a go, no-go to us. And we're going to have a different email address for each session that has a go, no-go. Not all of them will. This one does. We'd like to know your big niche, and if you have more than one, tell us that, and tell us your big niche and your audience size. And I would also like you to give us your 4 sub-niches and your audience size, and let us know that you checked the audience engagement in the way that we showed you. And also list the domain names that you'll be acquiring or setting up, or register. Okay, and we will get back to you. All right. Now, please do me 2 favors. Number 1, only submit to that email address when you actually have all of that information. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, if you now want to change your mind, which I completely understand because we've, I think, done a better job of training, and you've already submitted one, simply reply to that email, or go into your sent email and reply to that, so that it ends up in the same thread there. Okay, that would be helpful. If you have questions or any other need for support, don't send it to this email address. You have 2 other email addresses in the members area, 3 other actually, in the members area. Okay? Please use those and do not use this. Only use this when you have completed all of the things that I'm asking for right there. Okay? So, this is where we check and make sure that we've done our job. This is what I expect you guys to be able to do after tonight. Select your big niche, or niches in certain cases. Select your sub-niches, which is implied here because you need those in order to select your domains. Just sign up for hosting if you're going to do that, and fill out your go, no-go for session 1. And that is all she wrote. Questions, comments, issues?
All right, good. So a couple of people are saying, what is go, no-go? Go, no-go is basically like a stamp for approval. It's where you can submit your idea to us and we'll say, yeah, that's a great idea. We might say, actually, we don't think that meets the criteria. So it's kind of like your safety net to make sure that you don't get this stuff wrong. Okay, that's why if you don't understand everything perfectly, it's okay, because we're still going to make sure you're doing it correctly. There is no deadline for the go, no-go submission. People can work this at their own pace. Certain.
Yeah. But, however, having said that, if you want to stay on pace, you need to get it in before, we get ready to do session 2 next week, which will be we'll do exactly sort of the same thing here, where we're going to do 2 of these. We're going to repeat the session. We'll do it Monday and Tuesday. So
yep.
Ideally, it would be good to get done this week, if you want to stay on the path that we're on. But you are welcome to deviate that at your own pace for certain.
Steve, can you put the last slide up that's got the email address for the go, no-go?
Yes.
And also, guys, when you're buying your domain name, you don't have to worry about privacy. Okay, you don't have to get special privacy, special add-ons. Just get the domain name. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Lonzo, a lot of other people are saying, great job, Steve. Really broke it down well this time. So that's great. I think that it's really sinking in for people, which is great.
That's good. I was stressing.
So EJ says, if we're going at our own pace, how soon before we could expect to be making money? Well, as soon as you get the website up, really. That's when you're going to be able to start making money, when you start getting traffic to it.
Some people are asking when the next webinar is.
Yeah, I was just going to address that. So we're gonna do this one again, right? This session again, which please, you do not have to attend that one. Okay, it's gonna be the same content. Tomorrow morning. After we're done there, we will send out an email and say, hey, the replay's up, which by the way, this replay will be up before then, but the replay's up and here's when the next one is. And we're just gonna round robin probably again through those times that I showed you on the survey. So you can expect there will be one on Monday and one on Tuesday, and we will try and make them like sort of 12 hours apart-ish so that we can get the majority of people to be able to attend live. But we don't have the exact time yet, but we'll put that up in the members area ASAP, and then there'll be an email out tomorrow that will tell you specifically, hey, it's up.
Guys, do not use subdomains. Do not use .infos. Do not use .co. just get one different domain for each of your subniches, okay? Just try to stick as close to the method as we're saying, because we've done this over and over again, and this is the way that you're going to be making money. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to change anything. Just stick to the method, and you'll get results. So hopefully that's crystal clear. And I'm just browsing through the questions here. I have answered a lot of them already.
Okay.
So some people are still waiting on an answer for the go, no go. We're going to be working hard on them on the next 24 to 48 hours, so just bear with us there. We will get to them.
Yeah, as I said, we did sort of delay that because I felt like people might want to change their mind after we did a better job of training. So hopefully we've accomplished that this evening.
The presentation slides will absolutely be available. We'll get them up as soon as possible. You'll always get the presentation slides in the members area.
Yes.
And this replay, this reboot session will absolutely be in the members area as well.
Yes.
And the slides will be saved as a PDF in the members area, just for the people that were asking about that.
Yeah.
Michelle, we don't really have a time frame for the go, no go. We always just answer them just as quickly as we can. Again, you will get the PDF which has got all the criteria on it. Steve Roberts, I can see your question. I can see your last comment. I just can't see your question. So maybe it didn't come through. Just type it again. The slides will be posted within the next 12 hours, as will the webinar replay. 4 websites could potentially be 4 different niches, okay? So a few people are saying, should we wait to buy the domain until you've got the green light, like the go ahead? Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good idea. And saying that, if you're, really sure that it does work, that the domain is going to be good, then you can move forward with that. Something a lot of people don't know, with GoDaddy, if you buy a domain name and then you decide, that you don't want it, they will actually refund it as well. So if you go ahead and buy it and then you change your mind, you can do that. You can get that. So Lisa is saying, a little bit confused, you said don't use brand names like Gibson, use electric guitar, but you did say use Jeep. I think what we probably meant was use like 4x4.
Yeah, well, we use Jeep as a sub-niche, but we didn't necessarily use it in the domain name. So, and also Jeep is a little bit kind of like saying Kleenex, where the brand name also becomes the generic item, or crayons. Crayon is actually the brand name. Crayola crayons are the trademark name, but other people sell crayons, but they can't call them crayons, but everybody calls them crayons. So Jeep is kind of like that. So it is sort of a bit of an exception to the rule. However, we still would not use Jeep in a domain name. So.
It helps if your main sort of keyword is in your domain name for sure, but it's not an absolute. It's not an absolute must.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, this is not keyword based. The only way it's helpful to do that because it just ties it all together, right? So if you have some kind of, like Brent was saying with strike zone or strike press or balk press, or you don't have to use the keyword baseball, but you should. The easiest way to do it is to use some word that means your niche or that's a play on your niche, plus one of those other words that we have.
So Michael is just saying that domain health command column says bleak list. It should just say blacklist. It's just a spelling error.
Yeah.
We'll fix that up.
There are a couple spelling errors.
Yeah, it's just hot off the press, guys. It's just very new, very hot off the press. So we wanted to get it out to you. And lots of great feedback coming in. Thanks for that. Manuel, if you are using, if you're getting the SiteGround hosting, then you don't have to worry about installing WordPress because it'll all hook into our system. Robert, you only need four niches for websites, and if you really wanted to, you could, and again this would be bending the rules a little bit, but if you really wanted to, you could just do one sub niche to begin with. But again, we recommend that you do follow the system and do use four different things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about competition, guys, because again, if you look at, say, Huffington Post and Mashable, these websites don't compete with one another. If 10 different people all chose deer hunting, it would still be okay, because it's not like traditional search engine optimization or anything like that where you are going head to head for #1 ranking. We're not going for a #1 ranking here. We don't really care about that. That's why you don't have to worry too much about the competition.
There are a couple of people asking variations on questions like, this is a little bit different than what you presented in the webinars as far as not using some of the tools like Compete and looking very closely at affinity and things like that. And you're right. And the reason is that because we're doing such a focused set here and getting ourselves to a certain point as fast as possible, we're trying to simplify things, and we can do that because of the way that we're setting up these big niches and the sub niches and following those rules. It simplifies the process. Like anything else, it's when you go outside of that, where it's like the old 80-20 rule. We're doing 20% of the work now to get 80% of the results. There is another, that 80% of the work, which deals with more exhaustive analytics and analysis, that has a lot less of a return on investment, but is important later on as you get into perhaps phase 2 and phase 3 and things like that. So we'll make things more complicated eventually, but for now, we would ask you to just kind of go on this journey with us and take the path of least resistance, because the results are excellent.
Yep. Steve, so I'll let you answer this one. Where else? I've lost it now. But someone was saying, do we need a domain name for our 4 sub-niches and for our main big niche?
No. Your main big niche does not need a domain name. The only domain names are your sub-niches equal your websites. So you'll have 4 sub-niches. Those will be the 4 websites, and they each need a domain name.
You don't need to purchase the privacy option when you're buying your domain name. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. You just don't have to buy it.
So here Chris is asking, I'm still a little bit confused as the overall picture. Will I need to write or create a lot of content to the niches? I should probably know this. Well, first of all, we tried to explain it before at the bigger picture and if you missed that, there will be, I just didn't go over it again because, again, 90% of people saw it. So you would have seen some insight into that. However, I would argue you don't need to worry about it now. Let's not borrow trouble. Let's do what I love to say, which is we'll jump off that bridge when we come to it, okay? So let us just take you down this path. You have enough to bite off and be concerned about. Just worry about that for now, okay? Don't worry about other things. Don't borrow trouble. Don't even think about it. Okay? Because we will get you there.
Yeah. You just have to worry about what is directly in front of you, okay? So you only need right now, your only thing to do right now is to submit this go, no-go form, this go, no-go, thing for us to look at, and then buy a domain name, okay? And that's really all you have to do right now. If I missed any of the steps there, Steve?
No. And so here's another example of a question like that. So what is the consideration on items to sell in the sub-niches? There is none. I've not asked you to consider that. I don't want you to consider that. I don't want you to think about it. Do not think about it. Let's see. Should I shoot for 2 million for sub-niches? No. You should shoot for as big as possible, but try to be under that 5 million range. So is 2 million good? Yes. Do you want to shoot for 2 million? No. No. And then we showed you some examples of exceptions, right? Somebody's asking for the list of domain name modifiers. I gotta find them.
While you're saying that, some people are saying that when they sign up for SiteGround, it's asking for them to have a domain name. So I wasn't aware of that. If that's the case, you may need to have a domain name first. Michael, yeah, you could submit that again, Michael. Neville, yes, I can see your questions.
This is the greatest question I've ever gotten on a webinar from SM. What type of shirt should I wear when searching for niches? Laugh out loud. Just kidding. Great job, guys. Come on, that's funny right there. That made me laugh.
I say don't wear a shirt.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Does the push button installer only install WordPress? Yeah, it does, David, because we've got a special WordPress template that we've customized for our needs, and it plugs in with all the other things in the system. So, yeah.
Now we're getting into some good questions. Can I drink beer while I get my domains? And I have to share with you, this is very important. This is critical.
Okay.
And everybody said it was okay for me to talk about like airplanes and stuff. So the call sign of the plane that I am currently under contract with, it ends in, get ready for it, whiskey whiskey. I'm so excited. Sorry, I'm a little punchy right now.
So Carolina surprised me with, just while we're on the topic of whiskey, Carolina surprised me with a bottle of Johnny Walker Black yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Just out of the blue. So
nice. That's real nice. That's big for Carolina opening the wallet. That's big for Carolina opening the wallet for the Johnny Walker Black.
Wow. We were coming through, what's it called? Duty free. So.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know she had got it. So. Anyway, what other questions do we have here?
Sorry, we're...
What if my page likes overlap across a niche? That's possible, Dan, because someone that likes deer hunting may also like some other form of hunting, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. You just want the content to ideally be unique. Cindy, yes, you can do that.
Tony knows I was laughing at his comment because he even just said, I heard Steve laughing and I know he was laughing about my comment. There you go.
Yeah, Tony, you can tell her that next time you see her.
I wouldn't tell her that, Tony. I'm afraid of Aiden's wife. I wouldn't get her angry.
She runs a tight ship. What else we got here?
Joseph. Sorry, sometimes it's hard to see some of the questions. I don't. Let's see. Whether or not political social issues are suitable for the model. Yeah, they totally are. In fact, at least one of the, well, I think more than one of the test students is doing that kind of a thing. So yeah, for sure, it's fine. You don't have to worry too much about. I mean, because I mean, one of the things that's shared the most on Facebook probably is political stuff and social stuff. You know, news stuff, that kind of thing.
John, if you send us, John Stevens, if you send us information about that, send us an email with information about that, we can assist and give you some advice. So Aileen, so Aileen is saying, what if we get really different audience number results for different wording in the audience? For example, mountain biking versus mountain bike. I think you just have to go with your logic there. So, I mean, if they're extremely different, I mean, I'd probably take the higher one if both keywords are on topic.
I mean, those are very different things, though. Honestly, I mean, I mean that sounds crazy to say that, but you know, mountain biking is a very different audience than mountain bike, right? I mean, they're two different kinds of people that are in a different stage, I would say. And I think it falls under the category of overthinking it, you know. So if you're thinking about that as a niche, like Aiden's advice or a sub-niche rather, Aiden's advice of picking the bigger one is spot on, I would say.
So Mark, yeah, you could do that, Mark. Yep.
So if I did big niche sports, could do 4 sub-niches: cricket, rugby, tennis, golf. Yeah, sure. That would work. I mean, I haven't seen the numbers, but I'm assuming it would work. All right. Good. Excellent.
What we are also going to do, guys, is we're going to create sort of a frequently asked questions file, and we will sort of add to it and stuff over time. So we have tried to answer most of the questions here. If we've missed yours, then we'll try to get it in the question and answer file. Steve, can you go to the page that's got the criteria for the audience size on it again, if you have that there?
I'll find it. There we go.
Also, the emails that you can contact us on the support page inside the members area. Okay.
So here you go, big niche. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say Johnny Hankin. I didn't see yours, so if I didn't see your question, Johnny, just put it in again so I can watch out for it.
So big niche, you're looking for a big audience, at least 5 million, and that's pretty much the only criteria that you have to worry about. Sub-niche, you're looking also for as big an audience as possible, but generally under the 5 million, you know, at or below the 5 million. Again, remember, the audience size is not an exact science. If it's 5.5 or if it's 6, you know, don't worry too much about it. And also remember there are exceptions. The other thing to look for sub-niche is other sizable fan pages, and I would say that you'd want 3 or 4 of them with 150,000 plus likes and content that's being shared. You know, and we showed you examples of that. It's probably not that useful to say, like, oh, it has to have, you know, we tried to do that, like 3 pieces of content that have been shared in the last 2 months, but I think you'll know it when you see it, you know, 100 shares and lots of likes and that kind of thing, and fresh content.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Dan says, if one of my sub-niches is over 5 million, let's say it's 6 or 7 million, it's not a deal killer. Yeah, exactly.
No, not a deal killer. No. Lucy's asking, do the sub-pages have to relate specifically to the sub-niche? In the example that we're measuring them for audience engagement, yes, they do.
Yep. So guys, you don't have to worry about affinity. If you've heard me speaking about that in the past, don't worry about that right here. We've really tried to break this down to the bare basics and simplify everything initially. So just forget anything you may have heard about affinity.
Yeah, we'll see it again.
Yeah.
What's the maximum size of the big niche? There is no maximum. You'll know if it's too big based on the answering the question. You'll know it's too big if. I don't remember where that is. Further down. There is no maximum size. Sorry.
Donald, you will definitely get the template for the theme, for the hosting. Again, guys, you don't have to worry about what's the website going to look like. Is it WordPress? Is it that? How's it going to be installed? Because we've got you covered. We're going to cover that when we get to it. Right now, you just have to do this part.
You don't have to worry about filling out a form or a Word document for the go, no-go. Just put it in an email. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Your big niche, your sub niches, the numbers. I have it down there on the slide, what we're looking for here. Just do this in an email.
And if you do have more questions about, the niche size, the audience size, you're going to get the replay of this, guys. You're also going to get a PDF summary. You're also going to get the slides. So if you're still a little bit unsure, I would recommend re-listening to the replay. And then if you're still unsure, then you can obviously submit a question to us as well. So we've got you covered on all fronts if we have somehow missed your question.
All right, Karen, what did I say about content? Not to worry about it right now. So I'm not answering any questions about content. Okay. All right, guys, where are we at? We're at 8:49. Any other burning issues that we see?
I think people are getting it. I would again just say try not to overthink this. Try to keep it really simple. So for example, some people are coming and saying, can we have 4 different sub-niches in sport? Yeah, and in fact, we've given that example a couple of times on this call, but yeah, you can do that as long as the content doesn't overlap. For example, you could have one sport, which is soccer, and another one, which is rugby, and they are completely different, and it's not going to overlap. So again, try not to overthink this too much. Robert, support, we will always try to get back to you as quick as we can. I mean, we've got our coaches that work with us, we've got us as well. Marcus, I am seeing your question about if I'm seeing your questions, but I just haven't seen your question. So if we haven't got back to your go, no-go form yet, we will do that as soon as we can, definitely. So Noveska says, my question is more about the overall program. In relation to phase 2 and 3, what can we expect in relation to profits and how long will these periods take? So you'll find out a lot more about that once we actually get to that. We don't want to confuse you with, giving you too much to think about right now. But what we typically say in phase 2 and 3 is in phase 2 and 3 you'll be, just scaling up in a big way. So taking it from, if in phase 1 you get to $8,000 per month, which is $100,000 per year, then in phase 2 you'll be looking at, quadrupling that. And then in phase 3 you'll be looking at going for complete niche domination. Okay, so they're exciting things in the pipeline. And Marcus, I keep looking for your question, but I cannot find it. I know you tried to submit it for the 3rd time. I just can't see it there. So sorry about that. And I still can't see it, Marcus. Sorry, maybe send it via email, Marcus, because I just can't see it here. I know you said you submitted it. Okay, here it is. What if my domain is already registered? Sorry, I wasn't seeing it because it was on 2 lines. What if my domain is already registered and hosted with HostGator? Should I change it to SiteGround? I mean, you can try with HostGator. We have had some issues with HostGator in the past. It may be fine. I mean,
you can always listen. This is what we said: not to worry about hosting right now, because if you're in that situation, you can always host a website on a different platform. Okay, but we're not going to get into that tonight. All right,
yeah.
We need to be focused on what we've been talking about tonight. I promise you that we'll get into that next session. Okay, it is always possible. I think you were talking about registration, Aiden. He really means hosting, not registering. So it is always possible to move from one host to another. Yes. And we'll explain how to do that if that applies to you. Okay? But I have heard. Okay.
And yes, it is easy to change if you did want to change it.
Yeah.
Lisa, yes, I do think that.
All right.
All right, guys, we've been going for we've been on the call for over 2 hours now because we started about 10 minutes early with talking to everyone. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. We will get this replay in the members area as soon as possible. Remember, we're also putting the slides in the members area. We're going to create a summary PDF. You've got the emails where you can reach out to us with more questions as well. Right now though, try not to overthink this. Keep it really simple. The more you think about it, probably the more complicated you're going to try to make it. So keep it real simple. Just focus on this week's objectives and let us know if you have any issues. So I think that's a wrap, Steve.
Yep, definitely. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it, and thanks for your patience with having gone through this. And we'll make sure it doesn't happen again. So you take care.
Guys.
We'll talk to you next time. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.